How to host Python Flask application on EC2 instances. The plan is the following. I'm going to utilize the default AWS networking resources like VPC, Internet Gateway, and public subnet. Also, a security group, a keeper, and an EC2 instance, AWS Resources will be created. On the EC2 instance, the source code, WSGI server, the Nginx reverse proxy, a Linux service configuration, and a TLS certificate will be installed and or copied over. I have a basic Python Flask application running. The application is powered by the Gunicore VSGI server. Let's get started. First, create a security group. So navigate to the security group features. I'm going to call this Flask Web App Security Group. I'm going to have just a basic description. Select the default VPC, add the rules. First the SSH, allow traffic from your IP address, then add the HTTP and HTTPS rules, allow traffic from the internet, then add some description, and finally I'm going to tag it and create the security group. Navigate to the EC2 keepers, create a keeper. I'm going to name this web server keeper. I have a Mac, so I'm going to use the .pem format and some tags also. Create the keeper, and it is going to download the private key automatically. Let's create the EC2 instance. I'm going to name it Flask Web App Server. Use the default AMI, which is the Amazon Linux 2023 at the time of the recording. Use the default instance type. Select the keeper that you have just created. Use the default VPC. Make sure it will have a public IP address. Also select the security group and leave every default setting and launch the instance. Now it is in a pending state. I'm going to copy the IP address for SSH setup. So setting up the SSH, I have jumped to my downloads folder. I'm going to change the permission of the SSH private key. Open the .sh/config file with a text editor. Configure the EC2 instance as a new host and provide the private key. Save the file and test the SSH connection. Because we are going to set up the VSGI server behind the reverse proxy, we need to extend the Flask app with a middleware. I'm going to add a few lines to receive the forwarded headers. Then create a new Linux service. Start with the unit, then service, then install blocks. I'm going to run the service with the EC2 user. This can be changed, but pay attention to the permissions to make it work. Then I'm going to create a new file called install.sh to run application installation script on the host. This is not necessary, just convenience. First, creating the virtual environment, second, activating the virtual, and third, installing the dependencies, fourth, deactivating the env. If the script is ready, let's copy everything with rsync command line utility. Make sure you exclude the .venv and the pycache folders. As the copy has finished, I'm jumping to the host, checking the files. Also, you can see I have Python 3.9 already installed. It is fine for me at the moment. I would run the installation script that I have prepared in the previous step. The last step before running the Python app as a service, we need to copy the hello.service to the right folder, and we need to reload the system daemon. And let's start the hello service. Let's visit the site locally. Seems working. I got the hello world response back. Let's install Nginx reverse proxy. Start it and test if it is working. You should get back the default response. Configuring Nginx, I'm going to copy the Nginx config from the host. I'm going to use my local IDE and make some changes to direct traffic to the VSGI Gunicore server. Also, don't forget to add the proxy forward headers. So as I'm done, I'm going to copy this with rsync again, SSHing back again to the instance. And finally, I'm going to replace the Nginx conf with the conf I have made. And make sure that the config syntax is correct with the D flag. And I restart the Nginx service. I am checking the status and I enable Nginx service. As a last step, checking if the system is working, I am copying the IP address of the EC2 instance and paste it to the browser. And I got what I expected. The hello world response is back. In order to enable TLS termination, first install certbot to issue Let's Encrypt certs. Then install the Nginx plugin for certbot. Before I can issue the cert generate commands, I need to have an A record with the value of my EC2 instance IP address. I have this publiccloudtraining.com domain, what I'm going to use. You should have a different domain and maybe a different registry. Anyway, add the record, head back to the terminal, issue the certificate, wait a couple of seconds and you can see the output. As you have Let's Encrypt public and private keys, change the Nginx config, go to the TLS part of the config, copy and paste the TLS cert locations from the terminal, configure the HTTP and HTTPS redirect, move a couple of blocks surrounding the config, add the server names into the config, don't forget to redirect in the port 80 block, rsync the files, jump to the host again, override the Nginx config, restart Nginx, check the status, head to the browser and navigate to the domain name that you have configured. You should see an automatic HTTP to HTTPS redirect. If the page loads, you can check the TLS certificate details. Before we leave, let's clean up the AWS resources. First, terminate the EC2 instance. Second, delete the security group of yours. Third, delete the key pair. Quick summary. Hosting Flask on EC2 with TLS termination is a straightforward process. First, we need to have an application running, also use a VSGI server. Second, provision the AWS resources. Third, configure a service and the reverse proxy. Fourth, set up TLS certificate and reconfigure the reverse proxy. I hope this guide made it easy to deploy Flask application into an EC2 instance. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.